Hello, everyone. Where is the music? Seriously, where's the music? Wrong settings on my... Hey, there it is. All right. What is going on, everybody? It's a cold one out there tonight. It's very cold this Wednesday night. It is 2 degrees outside. There's only a pair of degrees outside right now. But welcome everybody to those of you joining me this lovely Wednesday night for an episode of D&D&Chill. It's been a little bit. You know, it really has been a little bit since I've done like a handful of these. I know we just had one not too long ago, within the past like week or so, if I'm not mistaken. Is that the case? Let's see, when was my last D&D&Chill? Oh yeah, it's about a week ago. Oh yeah, it was a week ago. Hey, look at that. Keeping some consistency Wednesday nights. Apparently negative temps throughout. Yeah, no, it's out here in Pittsburgh, it's gonna get cold. So bundle up, everyone. But last week I had talked about a couple new books that I had recently picked up. Mostly some stuff for vendors. I think it was Vendors of the Veil is the one that I talked about. And I had actually completely forgot about one of the books that I wanted to talk about that night, and kind of got into like this mindset of just like forgetting about it until I was like, well, it just hit me, and I'm like, what was that one thing that I wanted to talk about? And then it clicked, because it clicked with me Saturday night, because I was sitting here in my room, and I was starting to get ready to prep some D&D for Sunday for the New Age group. And I was like, all right, you know, I need some monsters. I need some NPCs. And, you know, we didn't really get to utilize some of the stuff that I had thought about wanting to utilize, which will show up later in the campaign. But then I was like, oh my God, this is the very thing I wanted to talk about. And what that is this book right here. Now, we're looking at the drive-through RPG page. So what I'm talking about is a book called Essential NPCs. This is made by Musing Design, and what it is something that I have kind of wanted for years as a dungeon master. And in a way, in kind of a roundabout way, I've had a similar access to it, but not to the degree that this book offers it. And what I mean by that is that has tarot. Yeah, it does. It does kind of have tarot cards. They're more just like generic arts. Oh shoot, that's why it's not coming up. So this is the book in question. As you saw a moment ago, it is available on Drive-Thru RPG. I'm gonna go ahead and share the link there for anyone who wants to pick this up themselves. But what this book does is it has a slew of different NPC archetypes. And you can see them right here. No, don't middle mouse click, Lucas. You know better than that. Oh my God, stop. There we go. All right. So as you can see here on the left, I know it's hard to see. Let me do it this way. Here we go. So the way that this works is it has, I think it was 28 classic fantasy archetypes. So we have alchemists, archers, assassins, berserkers, blackguards, blade masters, bodyguards, brutes, captains, commandos, guards, inventors, knights, law keepers, mages, martial artists, necromancers, performers, priests of darkness, and priests of light, shamans, soldiers, spell swords, templars, thieves, and thugs. And each one of them, they give this brief little description. I'm not going to go through all of them, but we'll look at a couple. Blackguards wield fear alongside cruel weapons, intimidating those who would stand against them. After weakening their victims with profane magic and auras, they deal injuries that leave the targets even more vulnerable. So probably something that's casting fear, things that are imposing like vulnerabilities possibly, or like doing hamstring attacks and stuff. Priests of light, let's look at that. They serve their gods by healing and safeguarding their fellows. In battle, these priests mend wounds of their allies, ward them against harm, and cast spells to detain any who would seek to threaten them. And we'll look at one more description. Knights, guards, simple guards. Keep watch over strongholds, treasures, private chambers with a little warning. They can take up a defensive stance that will stop any would-be trespassers in their tracks. Now, looking at this, you're going to notice these are not just historically evil NPCs. These are NPCs that can be introduced in the campaign as enemies or allies. These could also just be, you know, neutral NPCs that players might stumble across. You know, a mage in a tower, you might just want to have a stat block ready just in case they're going to try and fight the owner of a, you know, the mage inside of a tower who does spell scrolls and stuff like that. Or, you know, a priest of light, it's good to have a stat block around for that in case the players, you know, if you want to have a holy temple to Lathander or a holy temple to some good aligned god come under attack, this is going to give you that stat block that you need. Now, what they did with this is, what they did with all of these is the thing that made me really love this book. And I apologize for the crumpling in the background. I'm getting my dinner together. They did not give me my mac and cheese bites. Look at that. Did not give me my mac and cheese bites. Oh well, it is what it is. So usable NPCs, not general town. Yes, these are not just commoners. These are not general townsfolk. These are meant to be NPCs with robust stat blocks. And what I mean by that is that for every single one, we'll look at the first one, the alchemist. They offer stat blocks of varying challenge rating, as well as escalating abilities and features. So if we look here on the left, it gives us a little bit of an example, an explanation of what an alchemist might be useful for, and explains the kind of general archetype. Alchemists brew potions that distill magic into bottled form using exotic ingredients or experimentation in new sciences. They create bottles of liquid flame, potions that heal wounds, and concoctions that enhance the body. The ingredients and knowledge each alchemist use vary greatly, but all alchemists' work seems strange and esoteric to the rest of the world. Some examples of alchemists: The owner or supplier of a potion shop, like I said, that could just be, you know, somebody in a general town. A gnomish experimenter dabbling in chemistry that they don't fully understand. An herbalist hoping to learn the family trade from their wise grandmother. A coven of witches whose cauldron produces magical brews from chicken teeth and lizard lips. A naturalist versed in magical properties of their environment's flora and fauna. A harried physician of an aging emperor tasked with finding a tonic of immortality. A mutated test subject whose body spews caustic ichor and gases, and finally members of a scientific laboratory where devastating potions are weaponized for warfare. So we have a well-versed set of examples of what does an alchemist NPC look like. And I mean, realistically, this is a pretty vast selection, but yeah, reasonably any one of these, any one of these could just show up in sessions. You know, players wander into a town that has slightly higher magical wares. Cool, there's probably a potion shop in there, ran by an alchemist. Maybe they're traveling through the countryside and they come across an herbalist shop that's ran, you know, by this third example, you know, a young herbalist learning from their grandmother. Maybe the players are hired to go and deal with this coven of witches who's making these terrible caustic potions out in the swamps or out in the forest. Or maybe the players have to track down this mutated test subject who's going around spewing caustic ichor and gases. And it says also here, players may want to take the potions from defeated alchemists, as every player loves to loot the enemies that they kill. Whether or not people can use the alchemist potion is up to you. It's possible that administering or activating the potion requires special knowledge, or that the potions are useless to anyone other than the alchemist. If you want players to have access to the potions in the alchemist stat block, consider placing limitations on their use. Perhaps the potions expire in a week or require the addition of expensive ingredients to stay fresh. Maybe a potion has a chance of mishap when used by an untrained character, or it requires an arcana check. Furthermore, not all potions need to work the same. For example, you may decide that the vials from the alchemist's volatile concoction, which we'll talk about, ability are too powerful for your game. You can restrict access to volatile concoctions while still making alchemical potions available. It's always up to the DM in that regard of what the players can loot off of an NPC when they kill them. For example, in a lot of my games, one of the limitations and sort of loot restrictions that I put on players is the idea of broken equipment. You know, when players get into a fight with an NPC, or, you know, get into a fight with, you know, a goblin or an orc or something like that, that goblin or orc might have a scimitar or a longsword or something that the players would want, just as loot to possibly sell later. But in order to sort of like, what's the word I'm looking for? In order to almost like stem that, like, we need to loot everything, and, you know, we need to be dragging around 20 some things of, you know, great swords. And I understand weights are there, encumbrance is there. What I have done historically is that I use broken equipment or damaged equipment. So what that means is whenever a player fights a goblin or an orc and they have a scimitar or they have a longsword, they can loot that scimitar or longsword as just as much as they could loot anything else. And a longsword, for example, has a cost of 15 gold. So what I say is that when they fight that orc and it has a longsword, once they've killed the orc, that longsword is damaged. Or their armor, say they have chain armor, that armor is damaged. Now they can loot it and they can have it, but it is broken, it's damaged. It cannot be used in its current state, and it needs to be repaired. So in order to repair it, the players have to go somewhere where there is, say, a blacksmith or a leather worker or somebody that can work on this, and they need to pay half of the selling cost of it to repair it. So if a player gets a broken longsword, they need to pay at least 7 gold in order to repair it to make it usable. Then they could possibly sell it to somebody else. The other thing is that most NPCs and most shop owners won't buy broken equipment. Now, a blacksmith might buy broken equipment because they can repair it themselves and turn around and sell it, but they're gonna buy that generally at like a quarter of what the selling cost would be. And the reason for that is because they're gonna have to put in some effort and materials to fix it to then sell it at full cost. So you're not fully de-incentivizing players from looting, but you are making players more weary about what it is that they are going to loot, because if they're carrying around 5 broken long swords that each one of those weighs, however many pounds, 3 pounds, you're only going to get 3 gold a piece from that. And sure, that's reasonable to somebody, but if it's also taking up a ton of space in your inventory, they're going to be more particular about it. So that's normally the way that I handle it. Now, back to the alchemist, to the stat blocks, because that's what this book is about, and it's the thing that I love about it. So the way that this book works is that of each archetype, it provides you with a dynamic stat block for challenge ratings of 1/4, 1/2, 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, and 20. And yeah, you might be thinking, a CR 20 alchemist, like, what is that? That's kind of crazy. That's kind of out there. But the reality of it is yeah, there might very well be just an overpowered alchemist living deep within, some kind of arcane fortress underground that nobody knows about. But you could also just use this stat block for really any entity or any creature that you come up with, just as a dynamic stat block. So we're going to take a look at a couple of these. I've kind of looked over the general book. I haven't looked at all the stat blocks. I do want to one day take on the, challenge of adding all these to D&D Beyond for my own use. I know that's a lot of work. But hey, maybe one day I'll get around to it. So starting off, so first off, as you can see, based on how the stat block is designed, this is the newest version of the whatchamacallits. Oh, stat blocks. It's the 2024 stat block. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, if you go to that link that I provided in the chat to the Drive-Thru RPG, for the $20 price, you will get access to 2 different PDFs. So you'll get access to this one, which is the 2024, but you'll also get access to this one, which is the 2014 version. It's the same book. It's the same archetypes. Everything about it, it's the same CRs and everything like that. The only difference is that it uses the old original 2014 style stat blocks. So if you are more familiar with that, or you are more comfortable with that, that is an option for you. And you get both of them with the price. So you can see everything's basically the same thing. They're just using the new style, and even the numbers are still the same thing. So for example, you can see that You know, the AC is still 10, the HP still 13. Those are the same. The speed's the same. All the, you know, all the stat blocks are the same. Now, if I'm not mistaken, there was something that I noticed, and I don't think it was with, yeah, okay. So I did actually want to see this because I hadn't looked at the 2014 one, in response to this. Okay, so this is kind of a little bit different, but all the information is still there. So if you notice that the Archer in the 2024 version specifically lists out the gear right here. So, and it listed on all the stat blocks. It has leather armor, it has a longbow, it has a short bow. You can still discern this information on the 2014 one because the armor is listed next to the AC, which I personally prefer because it helps me know quickly at a glance what armor it has. But you can also discern, obviously, this thing has a longbow and a short sword because that's its actions. Like I said, everything else is the same. I just so happened to load up the 2024 version when I was pulling this up. But yeah, so each one of these has just, depending on the style you're doing, or if you, you know what? I didn't even consider, I just had the thought. It doesn't look like it. Okay, sorry. I had the thought, I was like, I wonder if they're gonna have masteries tied to these NPCs. I don't think that is the case. So, but regardless, we will take a look at the original 2014 version, because in my opinion, to me, this is a stat block. The other one, I said it before when I reviewed the 2024 monster stat blocks in an old D&D&Chill. I cannot stand how they do the stat array. Like, I appreciate that on here it shows me that this character has, you know, obviously they have proficiency with dex saves. That is cool to know, but that can just be thrown right there. Sorry. We don't need to change this. That's me being a grumpy old man and, you know, not accepting change, but, you know, I'm just saying. All right. So we're going to take a look at the Archer just because I'm not scrolling back up. You know what? I will scroll back up because actually I really like how the Alchemist is set up. So on this page, you can see that we have 3 different stat blocks. So we got our CR quarter, our challenge rating 1/2, and our challenge rating 1. And the first CR that's on here is as low as it goes. So we got a 10 AC, 13 hit points with 3d8 hit die. Mostly 10s across the board, but with a buff to intelligence and wisdom. We got a +2 to con saves, some proficiency in arcana and medicine skills, as well as an 11 passive, any 2 languages, so race agnostic or species agnostic. And it has 1 action, volatile concoction. And this is what it was kind of referencing over here in this section about having the volatile concoction unavailable to the players. So the Alchemist throws a vial at a point within 30 feet of it, causing the vial to shatter in a 5-foot radius sphere of acid, fire, or poison, the Alchemist's choice. Each creature within the area makes a DC 11 dex save for fire or acid, or a con save for poison, and takes a D6 of the chosen damage. So pretty simple. This could be like, you know, an apprenticed alchemist that the players have to fight through. There might be a couple of these that are assisting some, you know, larger, you know, some more powerful alchemist, or possibly even they're creating some kind of, you know, horrific alchemical experiment, and they're, you know, fighting alongside this thing, and each one of them could do the same type of damage. They might do different types. However you really want to build it, it's kind of there for you to take, you know, take that, I'm losing words. You kind of have carte blanche to choose how you want the NPC represented. There really isn't any stated NPCs in the D&D core or official rules. There's typically a strong, there are some, but there are, if we're talking about official content, oh shit, I didn't want to hide all. God. Here, we'll look at the 2 players, or wait, no, not players handbooks. Or yeah, players handbooks and the 2 dungeon masters guides and the new monster manuals. No, oh, immunity to force. I was like, what is that? So a lot of times what they're gonna have when it comes to NPCs is stuff that has the humanoid grouping type, or the, you know, the humanoid type. So for example, there's a berserker that is featured in this book as well. Bam, there we go. We got a berserker, got different stat blocks for it, mind you, but out of, you know, compared to this one, this is just a CR2. There is no variance. There's no nothing. There's just one. I mean, and you have different things. You need a generic cultist, occult fanatic, knight, mage apprentice, pirate captain. There are different things like that in here. I mean, we got different types too. You know, we got the guard, and we have you know, like priest, druid, but they're not really that overly robust, and most of them are going to be fairly low CRs. These are going to be NPCs that kind of are phased out early on, and unless you're going in and actively raising the AC of these creatures and buffing up their stats, they're not going to be challenges very long. And sure, there are some, like the Archmage, that's a CR 12. I mean, it's got 9th level, you know, 9th level spells. That is a reasonable challenge. Even the standard mage is CR 6. But realistically, when you get into it, there's not a lot to really like play up. Now, what you can do is if you know how to work a stat block, you can increase or decrease the challenge of an NPC. So for example, this berserker, if I wanted to make him, say, CR 5, okay, I would probably give him about maybe double hit points off the top of my head. I would probably increase his AC to like 15, maybe 16 if I'm feeling, you know, the thing is that if you increase their AC, you can kind of keep their hit points. The hit points don't really have to increase that much because it's going to be harder for them to hit them, and which means that their hit points aren't going to go down as often. But you can also increase their hit points by a lot and only increase their AC by 1 or 2 points, because they're still going to be able to hit them and chip away at that health. I would probably increase their strength by at least 1 or 2, at least 1 modifier point, you know, increase it to an 18. Would also probably increase their con, because that makes sense. And that would, increasing their strength would obviously increase their ability to hit, would also increase their damage. And I would probably make it like 2d12 or something like that, or giving it 2 attacks, you know, giving it multi-attack. Now, we here at Kel's Corner have used 5e.tools for years. This is my favorite website and repository. I mean, this is literally where I, use my digital DM screen when I'm running the games to reference any materials that I need. But on here, this has always had this feature, which is scale by CR. So if I wanted to raise this Berserker to level to a CR2, let's pop this out so that we have the sorry, I meant CR5. Let's pop this out so that we have the CR2, and then what we'll do is we'll crank this up to a 5. So right there, these are the two comparisons that we have. Oh shit, didn't mean to click that. So as I said, we increased the AC by 2 points. We increased the health by a marginal amount, by about half, which is sort of in a way the setup I said. If you increase the AC more, you don't have to increase the health as much. We've buffed the strength by a single modifier, and didn't mean to click that. And the con by a single modifier, but it also increased the dex, which sort of does make sense. Barbarians with a higher dex are going to have a higher AC, so that plays into it. As you can see as well, its damage has increased, so it still has the +5 to hit, and it always kept the advantage if the target doesn't have all its hit points. But now it's dealing 2d12, which is what I said. Now, personally, I would probably give it multi-attack, and the only reason I would give it multi-attack is because it kind of favors the players in a way. If it has one attack that does 2d12, each one of its attacks is obviously stronger, but doing 2 attacks means that you can target 2 creatures. It also means that one of them could possibly miss, giving your players a slight benefit, but it also means that they have a higher probability of critting. So 5e.tools has always been able to do this, and it's one of the things that I've loved about it. I've exported plenty of stat blocks into my VTT from here by just increasing their challenge rating. The kicker, though, is, and the reason why I really love the Essential NPCs book and why it is likely going to go down as one of my most favorite, enemy repositories. It's not necessarily a monster manual, but the reason why I really like it is because, let's say I want to increase this Berserker to a CR 15. Okay, this is a really powerful Goliath living on a mountain, or possibly like a troll. Well, trolls would have a regeneration. Yo, what's up, Juno? Welcome. Also, I meant to say Whispering Wisp. Thanks for coming by. So right here, we just bumped this Berserker up to CR 15. Okay. And as you can see, the AC has increased to 18. The hit points have exponentially increased. Its strengths, dex, and cons are now well over 20. And its attack, even though it's still a +5, is dealing 7d12 plus 6 damage. But nothing dynamic has changed about this. It is just increasing numbers. And that's all that it is. Hear me out. How about instead of higher CR, the more effort the DM puts into making them fun so your party doesn't want to kill them? So yeah, I mean, that's also true. Make the enemies more robust. And that is exactly what this book does. So we'll go back up to the Alchemist. Oh, wait, what? There's no... Oh, there's no quick link for the... Oh, I guess it would just be the first page. That's reasonable. All right, so jumping back to the Alchemist real fast. We just looked at the CR 1/4, okay? Pretty simple, low-level stat block, nothing too crazy. It has a volatile concoction, 30-foot range, shatters into a 5-foot radius sphere of acid, fire, or poison, DC 11 dex save or con save, depending on the damage type, 1d6 damage. Cool. We'll look at the CR half now. So we got a slight bump to hit points, went from 13 to 22. We now have a plus, we now have a 13 in intelligence. So not a modifier change, but a slow build-up. But now we have 2d6 damage in the volatile concoction, but we also now have alchemical potion. The alchemist administers a potion to itself or creature within 5 feet. It creates the effect of a spell, allowing the creature that it was administered to instead of its normal targets. If a spell would ordinarily require concentration, it loses the concentration requirement, and instead lasts for the full duration. So it is now able to, with a DC of 11, to cast Cure Wounds, Enhance Ability, and Enlarge Reduce. So just going up that CR from a quarter to a half, it now has a in-world sensible spell casting ability. It is not casting spells, it has potions that recreate these. So, and since it has one of each, this is where this was saying you could restrict the access to the volatile concoctions because those are the damaging ones, but you could still give the players access to these potions. So your players go up, they fight these alchemists, and they find out each one of them carries a small little pouch on them that has 3 vials in it. Cure Wounds, Enhance Ability, and Enlarge Reduce. Say there's 3 of them here in the room. So what do? You roll, let's say you roll a d6 for each one to see, hey, how many vials do they still have? If you roll a 1 or a 2, they only have 1 of them. If you roll a 3 or 4, they have 2 of them. And if you roll a 5 or 6, they have all 3. So your players can now loot them, and it makes sense what they're getting. So looking at CR1 now. So armor class is still the same. We haven't really moved up into a new tier. Hit points have gone up. We now have a +2 to intelligence, which, hey, great. And you can see now that the DC for the volatile concoction increased. The damage is now 3d6, and they gained the ability to cast invisibility and lesser restoration. So even just within these first 3 CRs, you can see the natural progression. This isn't just a simple, oh, here's some more hit points, here's a higher AC, and here's more dice that you roll for the damage. This is adding features. This is dynamically changing the character along the way to match the challenge that the players are going to be facing. We're going to jump ahead to CR5 because that's where shit changes. As you can see here on the left, CR3 goes from having volatile concoction to having hazardous compound. So we also now get a higher AC. We have, again, more hit points. We're starting to build up other ability scores. The dex has gone up. We have hazardous compound. This is no longer a 30-foot range, 5-foot sphere, and you know, with a little bit of damage. This is now a cloud. This is a cloud that lingers there for 1 minute. So it's not just a little splash. This is now a lingering cloud. DC 13 dex or con save, 9d6 acid, fire, or poison. We now have a glue explosion, 30 with a 30-foot range, 10-foot radius. Creatures in that area need to make a DC 13 strength save, or their speeds reduced to 0. Disadvantage on dex saves, and it dissolves after a day, unless possibly you have something that can cure it. They now have their own healing tonic once a day, and they're now able to cast Bark Skin. And they also have some, they're able to cast multiple times. I do like the cool. I want the higher CR enemy mages to get multiple familiars or higher. We'll take a look at that. We'll look at the mage next. I have no problem with that. Do like this, but to be fair, a chance at getting a potion of invisibility at level 1 is a little unbalanced. Well, the thing is that this isn't necessarily something that they're going to get all the time. Okay. You as the DM can make that dissertation of saying, okay, I'm going to, players are level 1. And my general rule of thumb has usually been, and granted, this isn't a perfect science because challenge rating is a broken system that just doesn't always work. Reasonably, a group of 4 level 1 players should find a reasonable challenge with a CR1 creature or enemy. Okay. A level 1 character is roughly going to have around, say, what I guess, what would it be? From like anywhere from like 9 to 15 hit points or something like that. So a CR1 alchemist with the right kind of action economy could actually, a CR1 against a group of 4 level 1 characters could be a reasonable threat. I mean, you think about a 5-foot radius sphere, depending on how the party is confined, they could be standing one right next to another. And that one attack could hit all of them. And 3d6, I mean, that's about 10 hit points. That could down the wizard and the sorcerer immediately. Paladin, fighter, and, barbarian are likely to survive. And they can go ham on the enemies. But at the end of the combat, they could try to loot this alchemist. And you as the DM, okay, so what? We got 5 potential vials. Possibly the alchemist cast Cure Wounds on himself at one point. So you only have 4 left. Well, that's easy. You roll a D4. Okay, I'll bust out my my set of dice here. I got a 3. Okay, cool. So there are 3 viable vials within the pouch. One of them has shattered. Okay, which ones are there? We're gonna roll this. We got number 2. So we got one of them is the potion of invisibility. Another is lesser restoration, and finally enhanced ability. So it looks like enlarge, reduce, shattered. But if you think giving them a potion of invisibility at level 1 is a bit unbalanced, make it that they can have it, but they can't necessarily use it. Maybe they, like it says over here, if you want them to have access to the potions, consider placing limitations. Perhaps they expire after some time. Maybe they need an additional ingredient. Heck, for all they know, every time that the alchemist was pulling out one of those potions to cast, maybe they had an ingredient in their hand that they slapped down onto the top, shook it, and drank, and got that thing. So there are ways to limit that, but I do agree, invisibility potion at level 1 can be a bit overpowered. CR1 is an equivalent to level 1. Yeah, it's not, but challenge rating is such a ridiculous system. Like I said, my general rule of thumb, as long as they're, truth be told, it kind of, magic items kind of screw the pooch on it. But generally, the CR of a creature is partially equivalent to the amount of, or to is about equivalent to the level that a party of 4 adventurers needs to be for it to be a reasonable challenge. Now, granted, CR20 creatures fighting against 4 level 20 players, those players could cast Wish. I mean, even level 17 wizards get access to Wish. I mean, once you start getting into higher level spells and abilities and stuff like that, you kind of have to change how the system works. Which honestly, I don't even know what the highest CRs in this look like. I never even got that far in my exploration. But like I said, I really like the fact that this has a dynamic system that not only increases the basic numbers of these NPCs, but introduces evolutions to their abilities and introduces new abilities at reasonable levels. Again, if you're looking at a party of level 3 characters, that is vastly different than a party of level 5 characters. Level 5 is where classes come online. So it makes sense that alchemists at 5th level would really come online with new abilities. Also being fair to the system, it's a dice-based yeah. Can die to a rat with yeah, and that's truth. That is 100% true. We're talking about a system built around dice that you could have, while the chances are exponentially high that this wouldn't happen, or sorry, exponentially low that it would happen. You could roll a bunch of nat ones, and like Destructor said, you could die to a rat. So yeah, as we go along, once you get to level 5, I feel like that's where most of the stat blocks are probably going to be set in their ways. And that is where numbers are going to start to increase. As you can see at, 13th level, 15th level, it's just stacking on some extra dice onto stuff, just beefing up their abilities, giving them a couple extra spells. You can see that here now they had Flesh to Stone as a spell that they could emulate starting at 9th at a CR 9, but now they can cast it twice a day. And then finally moving up to CR 20, it looks like they actually gained kind of in a way, like a core feature, a capstone ability, if you will. So at CR 20, Alchemical Immortality. The Alchemist has unlocked the most potent secret of its art, immortality. The Alchemist cannot die, does not age, and regains 20 hit points at the start of each of its turns. If its body is destroyed, it reforms the next round in an unoccupied space nearest to its previous location. In order to maintain its immortality, the alchemist must consume a unique potion that it must create every day by spending an hour in interrupted work using alchemist supplies. If the alchemist is prevented from consuming this potion for more than 24 hours, the effects of the potion cease. If any creature other than the alchemist drinks the potion, it must succeed a DC 20 con save or die immediately. Holy wow. Oh, and it can cast Disintegrate at these levels. That's baller. Yeah, see, this is what I mean. Like, level 20, these would be end game enemies. These are going to be, this is going to be like, this is going to be the big bad. Okay. This is going to be somebody that the players are going to have to really plan around. They're going to have to stop them from making these potions. And that could be even the big bad of a campaign. The players, the way that this can be utilized in a long form campaign, the players could stumble upon this alchemist early on in their campaign, lower level, and they escape somehow. Or the players possibly let them live for one reason or another. And then they come back later on as a threat again at a higher CR. And maybe this time, maybe in the first encounter, the alchemist beats the players and escapes. And the players, you know, they go out, they get stronger, and suddenly they come across the alchemist again. And they've heard a few things about him through the region. And they fight him again. Maybe this time things are a bit more balanced. The players are meeting him at level 5. And this is where, you know, they've come online. The alchemist is coming into his own, and they're just about to beat him, and he throws down a glue explosion, you know, and then he drinks a healing tonic and escapes. And then the players hear more and more about him as time goes on. His phylactery is one of those sport. That's amazing. I love that. That's absolutely amazing. You know, and then have it be where they find out that this alchemist is like poisoning the water supply, is turning, you know, is turning merchants. They have flesh to stone, so they're turning you know, enemies into monuments, or they're, you know, disintegrating. What's up? Hey, what's up, Jay? Welcome, buddy. And you know, then they find out, like, you know, he's mocking them. You know, they try killing him. You know, now this is a CR20 alchemist, and the players try fighting him, and he just lets them waste all of their abilities. And, you know, he's regaining 20 hit points at the, you know, at the start of each of his turns. And, you know, even once they finally destroy him, the wizard casts, you know, a disgustingly high powered fireball, or they cast, you know, wish or disintegrate on him, and he simply just reforms and just laughs at them and is like, you know, I am immortal. So they, you know, they have to flee. They realize they've burned up all their abilities. So they flee. They then, through some campaign storylines, they find out how he's doing this. So how do we stop this? Well, we need him to stop drinking this potion. So maybe you find out what the potion's made out of, come up with, you know, say a handful of ingredients. So the players have to limit that alchemist's ability to get that, possibly breaking up some supply chain, you know, ways of doing that, going out and finding these ingredients so that there's none available for him, or even just going into his lab, his tower, his, you know, facility, wherever he's based out of, and destroying all of them, and then waiting one day. An alchemist named Alexander Jones that puts chemicals in the water. He's turning the grung gay. So yeah, I was really excited. Sabotage his potion. Yeah, that's another one. Sabotage his potion, put something else into it. Maybe when he drinks it, it doesn't give him the immortality that he thought. It's now corrupted. You know, it doesn't do what he expected. Maybe you mix up the things that he's putting into it. And when he goes to drink it, you know, you send him a challenge. We want to fight you again. And he thinks that he's immortal, and you stab him in the heart with that final one. And maybe the fight, truth be told, it'd be a sick battle, but maybe he just lets them go at it to burn out their abilities. And he just stands there, does nothing. And he says, I'll let you try and waste your time again. And finally they get that boom, last stab into him. And it's just the blood dripping out of him now. Or after they deal some damage to him, he realizes his wounds aren't healing. You know, you deal 50 points of damage to him, and like a powerful attack, and suddenly he realizes his wounds are not healing, his cuts are not sealing, and he realizes something has gone wrong, and now he's fighting for his life. I absolutely love this. I love this book. To those of you that have joined after the fact, we're checking out Essential NPCs. This is published by Musing Design. I have a link up here in the chat. I will repost this. There you go. So if you're curious to check this out yourself, you want to grab yourself a copy, this is in here. And the way that this works is there's actually 28. I know here it says that there's 26, but that's because there's 2 non-combat stat blocks, and each one has a challenge rating: quarter, half, 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, and 20. We'll look at the mage. Said we would check out the mage, and I'm kind of curious myself to see what the mage looks like. Also, I absolutely love these cards. If I ever get around to doing it, I wish there was some way to have this full art as the enemy token. I absolutely love this art so much. So, mages are the quintessential wielders of magic. Their spells reshape reality, defy the laws of nature, and make the impossible commonplace. Some mages obtain their abilities through diligent study, others through talents inherited by supernatural ancestors, and still others through diligent study, and others through talents inherited by supernatural ancestors, and still others through deals with powerful entities. So obviously wizards, sorcerers, warlocks. I keep trying to see if they sell, as far as I know, they do not sell a deck. Looks like the Shadow Wizard Money Gang meme. All right, Juno, have a good night. Thanks for stopping by. Oh yeah. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you over in the GMP server. Oh, okay. I know that meme. Warlock for life. There you go. I still love that, shit, what is it? Oh, God, who was it? Oh, shit, who was it? Who does the D&D animation? God, it's, I keep thinking Dungeon Soup, but it's not. It's, it's the animated spellbook. What's his name? Yes, here we go. Z Bashu. It was his video on Animate Dead. Here it is. All right. Well, this is one of my favorite clips of all time, and it regarding the concept of warlocks for life. Here it is. God, I love this so much.
That's less clear. Anyway, you could make this Beetlejuice nightmare, or this thing, my little buddy, Boney McFingies. I'm so proud of her. She's the greatest thing I've ever created.
What about me?
You can't even animate dead? Warlock trash.
I love that. I love that so much. Every time I think about warlocks, this clip comes back to my mind of saying to your daughter, warlock trash. Oh, man. Zebeshu is so good. I gotta watch all of his stuff again. All right, so some examples of mages that your players might encounter throughout their adventures. An obsessed wizard who values learning above all else and will do anything to obtain new knowledge. A paranoid magus bent on discovering the secret to eternal life. The advisor of a slovenly emperor who leverages spells and intellect alike to keep the empire from falling into discord. Or a young warlock whose tome supplies any arcane knowledge they wish to know, as long as they supply the book with the blood it uses for its ink. Oh, I really like that for a character design. Oh shit. Okay, hold on. I gotta get something. I've had this book for years. I've had this book for a number of years. It's just a little journal that I got at my store at Walgreens years ago. Very simple journal, has a pen, you know, just blank pages on the inside. It's fuzzy, got a cute little face, and it's holding a heart. Okay. But the reason I bought this is because I said that this would be the kind of shit that a kid in a D&D setting would find a book like this. That's like, I can solve all your problems. And the kid being like, will you make my father stop hitting my mother? And it's like, simply write your wishes in the pages of this book, and I can give you the powers to make them stop. All you must do is sign your name. And so, they sign their name, and it's like, just point at your father the next time he does the thing you wish he not to do. And suddenly the kid goes home and, something happens. His father gets angry and goes to strike someone, and kid's like, stop it, points his finger, shoots an eldritch blast, kills his father. And the book's like, I can make you more powerful. I can make all the bad things go away. You must simply provide me with the blood of your father to write the spells in this book. And something like this is just exactly what I had in mind. This is phenomenal. I love this. That is so cool. All right, the mage uses intelligence as its spellcasting ability modifier. This most closely resembles the wizard, but you can easily convert this NPC for use as a sorcerer or warlock by exchanging its intelligence for charisma. Absolutely. And making charisma its spellcasting ability. The mage's spell save DC and to hit bonuses will remain the same. You know what? That makes perfect sense. Thank you, Skinny Black Tea. Oh, what's up, Ms. Roy? Skinny Black TV. Welcome. Ms. Raid. Welcome, buddy. Appreciate having you here. You may also choose to give the mage proficiency in charisma instead of... Okay, so makes total sense. Obviously, there's different kinds of mages out there. How goes the D&D, the DN discourse? It's going good. We are... we'll jump back up to the top real quick. We are checking out a book called Essential NPCs that has about 28 different NPC stat blocks with a slew of various challenge ratings for each one with dynamic changes to them. We are just about to check out the mage. All right, so CR 1/4. So we got an 11 AC, 13 hit points. Strength is obviously going to be a dump in there. So Elemental Bolt, melee or range spell attack, +3 to hit, 5-foot reach or 120-foot range, 1d10 acid, cold, fire, or lightning. I love that. I love that it is so, like, it's not specific. It's not a specific, it's not firebolt. It's not shocking grasp. This is just an ability it has. You can give it one damage type that it focuses on, or you can give it a bunch that it can use dynamically. I also love that it can be melee or ranged. This is what I've always wanted. Then we got some basic spell casting, light, mage hand, prestidigitation, color spray, and grease. Cool. Some pretty simple utility spells there with grease and color spray. Getting that ability to possibly knock some people on their ass with grease. And in addition to that, color spray. It's been a while since I looked at color spray. Actually, I always mix that one up with another like color-based spell. Can't think of what it is. But yeah, so it imposes a con save that does the blinded condition. So we're creating difficult terrain, knocking creatures prone. If you're in my game, grease is also flammable. So this spellcaster at even an early level could cast grease, and then on their next turn cast, cast the elemental bolt of fire at it to set some area on fire. Cool. All right, jumping up to CR 1/2. So hit points increased from 13 to 12. Looks like our intelligence went up by 1, giving us the +2 modifier. So the elemental bolt now has a +4 to hit. It does 2d8 damage. So instead of 1d10, we're now 2d8. Why did this go down? Oh, I see. Oh, okay. Oh, this is so good. I love this. All right, so we'll get to CR1 in a second. But we went from 1d10 to 2d8. Great. Now we can cast color spray and web. Web does require concentration. I do like that it does note that. But now we also have a reaction. Once a day, when hit by an attack, the mage protects itself, so it can cast shield. It has the shield spell. It increases its AC by 5, and the only thing that it doesn't get from shield is that if somebody casts magic missile at it, that does not let it take effect, because shield lets you ignore damage from that. Moving up to CR1, we go from 22 hit points to 31, which is decent. I'm actually kind of surprised that the mage has a D8 for a hit die, but I guess since sorcerers and warlocks, I think warlocks have D8s, it makes sense. Now we're getting mage armor, mirror image, suggestion, and web. So it looks like we traded out color spray and grease. And now we can do arcane defense twice a day. But here's the thing. So as you can see, we started out with a D10, which is the same as Firebolt, okay? And Eldritch Blast. So then we move up to 2d8. So the average of a D10 is 5.5, so about 6. The average of 2d8, the average of a D8 is 4.5, so 5. So the average 2d8 is 9. It's 4.5 twice. Obviously, you can see right there. But now we jump up to here where we're only dealing 2d6, but that's because they get 2 attacks now. So while the damage of each bolt has reduced a bit, you're now getting multiple attacks. So it's not like it is with the player's stat block, where you're constantly, you're increasing the amount of dice you do every time, or you're possibly getting more times that you can attack. This is kind of doing like that as well. It's like doing both, because we started with 1 at a D10, and then we increased the dice pool, and then we got now 2 attacks, but we decreased the dice, the average hit. And now when we get up to CR2, now it's 2d10. So we're doing exponentially more. Looks like everything else kind of stayed the same. We're now up to a +3 to intelligence here. So the spell save has gone up. The to hit has gone up, which is great. And then we're getting into CR3. So now he has, so we have, again, more hit points, focused. The mage has advantage on con saves to maintain concentration. That's great. You can make 2 elemental bolt attacks, and it can replace 1 attack with a spell casting. That's actually really, really good. We're now dealing 3d8. So yeah, we've gone from 11 to an average of 13. And now we have Elemental Blast. If you are fairly knowledgeable about D&D, this recharge, what this means is that anytime you use this ability, you roll a d6 at the end of that creature's turn. And if you roll a 4, 5, or a 6, you get access to that ability on their next turn. And you can do that at the end of each one of their turns to see if it recharges. So, Elemental Blast. The mage creates a magical explosion centered on a point that it can... Okay, so this is Fireball. This is a weak Fireball. 120-foot range, 20-foot radius sphere, DC 13 dex save, 5d8 acid, cold, fire, or lightning, half as much on a successful... I love it. And I'm guessing that the CR5 gets 66. Okay, so we actually jump... We don't even ever do 8d6, which is the standard Fireball. Wizard School gets attacked and 50 12-year-olds with the quarterstaff blocks their head right. I just noticed that comment. I'm sorry, Destructor. That's amazing. It's just Harry Potter. All right. So it looks like most of our spells have stayed the same, but we did get Fly. That's good. Arcane Defense is still the same. I'm wondering if that is going to change because I don't know. Oh, we do. We actually get a Disrupt spell. So CR5... nothing crazy has changed up here yet. Still have everything there. Plus 6, 3d8. Oh, we can now do 3. Okay, cool. So at CR5, it's doing 3 attacks. So it's down to 3d8. The Elemental Blast is doing 66. It now knows Dimension Door and Wall of Fire. So one of the nice things about this, in my opinion, regarding the spells, I kind of like the fact that the spells are not just compounding every single level. Okay? When it started out, you had simple cantrips and some basic spells that weren't really like damaging, you know. Light, Mage Hand, Prestidigitation, Color Spray, and Grease. Those are all good utility spells. But there's no damage to them except for like Grease. Again, if your DM says that Grease can be set on fire. And even as we have moved along, it has mostly been defensive or utility. Something like Mage Armor, Mirror Image, those are all defensive abilities. Suggestion is control. Web is utility. Fly, you know, that's utility. And now down here, we're starting to get into some offensive spells. He now has Wall of Fire, which can deal some damage, but it's not like we're constantly building up all the same spells, because at this point we would have a massive spell sheet. And the reason why, wrong button. The reason why I like this is because, where's my mouse? There it is. The reason why I like this is because when you're, oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Let's look at an Archmage real quick. Okay. When you sit down at the table to run an Archmage stat block, look at how many spells you have to choose from. You have a ton of spells. And you have to go into each one to know what you're doing with them. And like, what are you going to choose? And, you know, and sure, you have uses of them. You have slots that you know, that's how many times you can cast any one of these spells. But having something where it's limiting you on the stuff that you can use, but it's giving you some of the more powerful stuff now, like Mage Armor as an at will, because, I mean, shit, Warlocks can get Mage Armor at will. But I kind of like the fact that it's like, hey, you know, this mage is kind of for not worrying about some of those old spells that aren't getting used as much. It's focusing on these new ones. And arguably, you could always just add your own. That's always going to be the case. DMs can just choose like, oh, sweet, I still want this guy to have light. That makes sense. Or I still want him to have web or color spray. Fine, you throw it in. It's not the end of the world, and it's your decision as a DM. And then we're going to look at CR7. And I want to jump up to some higher CRs here. So what do we got? We now have a bump in intelligence. We're at a +4. So that means our bolts are hitting more often. We're now at 3d10 with 3 attacks. Our ball attack, our elemental blast, is 9d6 damage. And we're now getting some of our spells at twice a day. So we have our at-wills. We have 2 times a day for Dimension Door, Dispel Magic, and Suggestion. And once a day with Fly, Mirror Image, Slow, and Wall of Stone. Cool. But we now have Disrupt Spell. And it's basically Counterspell. When the mage sees a creature within 60 feet casting a spell, it tries to magically interfere. The creature must make a DC 15 Intelligence saving throw. If the creature is casting a spell using a spell slot of 3rd or lower, it makes the save with disadvantage. That's a great way to do that. That puts the onus of the dice roll in the player's hand, and it's just twice a day. This isn't burning through spell slots. It's not something that, you know, like with the Archmage, you know, that we were just excuse me, that we were just looking at. They have Counterspell. We could cast Counterspell, what? 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 times. You can have an Archmage on the battlefield whose only role is to counterspell at least 1 spell per turn. Granted, it's a reaction, so they only have that. But I like that this is just a very simple version of it, and it's not technically a spell. This is an ability, okay? Arcane Defense is not the shield spell. What does that mean? Why does that matter? That means it can't be countered spelled. Disrupt Spell is not a spell. It is a feature, which means when this NPC casts Elemental Blast at the party, and the party's wizard casts Counterspell, and this mage casts Disrupt Spell, the warlock cannot return Counterspell against the Disrupt Spell because it's not a spell. It's a feature. I love that. This is what 2024's, this is what the classes in the 2024 Player's Handbook, I've talked about it before. I've had very visceral reactions to the new classes because there was a lot of classes where it's just like, you know, hey, we're not giving you, hey, what's up, Killer 7? Welcome. The 2024 Player's Handbook took a bunch of classes and said, hey, instead of giving you a feature that does this spell-like effect, we're just going to give you the spell. Well, that's great, but that means that it can be dispelled. It can be counterspelled. You know, there's certain things that now has to do, or I have to burn a spell slot to use it instead of just giving me it like once per short rest or once per long rest. And I kind of hated that. And I was very vocal about that when we were, you know, back when we were doing the play testing and the unearthed arcanas and stuff about the Player's Handbook. I didn't like how they handled that. Still don't. I still think it was a bad call. All right, yes, but it's better balanced. But the second the DM pulls out and actually it's not a spell, it's a spell-like ability. Chairs getting thrown. I don't know. I'm definitely one of the ones, you know, anytime my players at the table are like, they see something going on and they're like, is he casting a spell? And I'm like, no, this is an ability. It's like, okay. It's like, that's simple. Plain and simple. Now, like I said, I would argue that yes, Elemental Blast and Elemental Bolt, in my opinion, are spells. Like, those could be counterspelled. Elemental Bolt, oh, Jesus H. Elemental Bolt 100%, because it literally says that you make a melee or ranged spell attack. But I would argue that yes, Elemental Blast is also a spell that could be possibly counterspelled. Even though it's not under the spell casting and its abilities, I would give players at least that much. All right, so what do we got? What do we got as we go up? So we're getting to +9 to hits, 5d10. What do we got now? We got some extra castings of fly, and we now have teleport, which is cool. DCs are going up. This has still stayed the same. Ooh, okay, here we go. So we got some changes now at 15. CR 15 is where they're now getting shield and counterspell 3 times a day, which is pretty nice. We got Dominate Monster, Globe of Invulnerability, True Polymorph. And now we have something over here at CR 17. I also just noticed, what level did that happen? Oh, look at that. From CR 11, they had 3 languages. They actually learn an additional language at CR 13. That's kind of cool. All right, so what is this new ability? Because we just introduced something at CR 17. Storm of the 6 Stars. Each creature of the mage's choice within 120 feet must make a DC... Oh my god. Oh my god. It makes a DC 19 Strength, Dex, Con, Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma saving throw. For each failed saving throw, the creature takes 3d8 force damage and suffers a different effect. Strength. The creature speed is if the creature speed is greater than 10 feet, it is reduced to 10 feet for 1 hour, and it can repeat this at the end of its turns. Dexterity. The creature has disadvantage on attack rolls with weapons and unarmed strikes for an hour. Okay, so all these can be repeated at the end of their turns. I'm not going to keep repeating them, except for Charisma. Constitution. Other creatures have advantage on attack rolls against this creature for an hour. Intelligence. The creature cannot concentrate on spells or cast spells using spell slots higher than 2 for 1 hour. Wisdom. The creature has disadvantage on spell attack rolls, and other creatures have advantage on saving throws against the creature's spells and abilities. Holy crap. And Charisma. Any spells or spell effects affecting the creature are dispelled. This effect does not dispel the mage's spells or spell effects. Holy shit. So if they fail a Charisma save and you're enlarged or you're reduced, from or you have haste or something like that, that would end it. Damn, that is crazy. I can only imagine hearing the dice hitting the table with that. All right, everyone. The mage begins to move their arms in this arcane manner as you see beams of light shooting out from the center of them in 6 different colors. And suddenly this aura shoots out from the center of their hands, engulfing everyone in 120 feet. I need each of you to make saving throws. One of the players is like, which one? Yes. All of them. That is amazing. Holy shit. What is CR20 then? That's CR17. What is CR20? Okay, so CR20, the intelligence is now a 22. And it's now a DC 20 and 4d8. All the effects are still the same, so that's totally fine. Damn. Plus 12 to hit, 9d10 damage. God. I love this book. I have to spend more time reading through it because I only looked at the Alchemist and the Archer, truth be told, like through, and I didn't even look at like the higher Alchemist one because I was kind of saving it for, you know, this video. But I absolutely love this book. I think this is a phenomenal way to manage humanoid stat blocks. And truth be told, not even necessarily humanoid. Like, there's no reason that I couldn't take this CR5 Archer right here and give it nimble escape and make it a goblin. You know? I mean, if we just very quickly gobbling. I mean, what does a goblin have that makes it unique? Well, it has nimble escape. It can take the disengage or hide action as a bonus action. Other than that, it's just a standard stat block. There's nothing really crazy about it that is monumental. So if we give this archer nimble escape, we can just say, oh, it's a goblin. It's a higher level goblin archer. And cool. If we want to say have, you know, a more robust troll stat block who is a berserker. All right, cool. What does a troll have? Keen smell and regeneration. All right, great. So that means that a CR7 berserker, yeah, they have a great axe and hand axe, but they also have regeneration and keen smell. Sweet. You know, maybe reduce their hit points a little because they're going to be recovering some hit points. That's probably the only caveat that I might say is if you wanted to make it a troll. But realistically, you don't even have to do a lot of that because these change so dynamically as you are cycling through them, as your players are leveling up. And sure, some of them are just going to be simple number changes. You know, it's going to be increasing, you know, one ability score to the next. You know, you're going to increase the damage you're doing, or you're going to increase the amount of attacks that you're doing. And yeah, that's always going to happen. But the introduction of the new abilities, in my opinion, is what makes this just absolutely phenomenal. So, I mean, that being said, I'm not going to go through all of these, mind you. I do actually want to check out at least one of the non-combative archetypes. I want to see the noble, because I'm curious how this works. So we have a noble courtier. Oh, I see. Okay, I see what it is. All right. So instead of having it based on levels, you have it based on different types. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. So you have a courtier who would be a noble within the bounds, but they're going to be at the lowest rank. Then you have a scheming advisor and a ruler. That's cool. I like these. So so these aren't even necessarily ranks. These are just arguably NPC stat blocks for just generic nobles. What is the scheming advisor? What's political savvy? The noble has advantage on saves made to avoid or end the charmed effect on itself or and to resist magical suggestion. That's cool. Poison dagger +3 to hit. 1d4 +1 piercing. 1d10 poison damage on a DC 12 con save. Beguiling whisper. One creature within 30 feet of the noble who can hear and understand it makes a DC 14 wisdom save. They have disadvantage if it was targeted with this ability within the last 24 hours. On a failed save, target is charmed by the noble and considers it a trustworthy source of advice. Oh, that's ridiculous. This lasts for 1 hour or until the noble attacks its targets or its allies. Okay, cool. So, shit, I dropped something. So this is Worm Tongue. This is Wormtongue from Lord of the Rings, you know, whispering into Theoden's ear, you know, going, oh, though you cannot trust the ranger. You have no power here. And then you have the ruler, who has a standard longsword. Great. Chosen champion. The ruler targets an ally within 30 feet until the beginning of the ruler's next turn. The target has, oh, cool, resistance to mundane damage, and deals an extra d6 when it hits with an attack. And Inspire. Target any number of creatures within 60 feet. If the targets can see and hear the ruler, they deal an extra... Oh, cool. Okay. I like that. I think that's a cool way to handle some generic NPCs, or some generic nobles. And then what do we got? Expert. Whoa, what? Trained. Expert has a 12 in the ability score related to its expertise, and all others are 10. Oh, that's so cool. Okay, so we got a 12, we got a 16, and we got an 18. I like how they did that. That's smart. Proficient in any 2 skills, any 3 languages. The expert. Okay, so what? The expert has specialized in 1 skill or tool. When the expert makes an ability check with that skill or tool, it rolls a d8 and adds it to the total. Cool. Okay, so this is just if you need like a blacksmith or something. I'm betting. Let me see what the purpose of this is. Most people who train to become professionals do not focus on the combat applications of their skills. These people are experts, artists, craftsmen, Artists, craftspeople, entertainers, and scholars who devote themselves to the mastery of a particular field. Although their battlefield usefulness is limited, experts are frequently sought out by adventurers who have a need for their expertise in other arenas. Most experts, such as blacksmiths or merchants, ply their skills as a way to make a living. Some are instead motivated by a passionate dedication to their field, like scholars of esoteric subjects or art-obsessed nobles. Regardless of what drives them, experts typically represent the best available resource for professional crafting, expert advice, and skilled work. The town blacksmith, who also does some work as a farrier. What's a farrier? What's that mean? Oh, a craftsman who trims and shoes horses' hooves. Oh, okay, cool. So they are a specialist in equine hoof care. A horseshoer. Interesting. I was ignorant of that term until tonight. A renowned painter who has done a portrait of every member of the royal family in the last 50 years. That's badass. Traveling merchant, you won't find a better price, guaranteed. Village doctor, renowned religious scholar, Society of Academics, a wrestler in a world-spanning academic competition, who is trained not for combat, but only for sport. Cool. And what is a... Oh... I'm not even gonna I can't even pronounce it. A Blever... This is like a French term. Who knows all the local art exhibitions, the right people to bribe if you... What is that term? I Googled it and it's coming up with drink recipes. I don't know what that term means, but I'm guessing this is somebody who is like an art expert. What kind? No, Google this term and it comes up. Here's how to spell it. Google that term. It comes up with a drink, and one of the Google like results was, what's the difference between a Boulevardier and a Manhattan? I also just realized I've been sitting here for an hour and a half and I haven't eaten my dinner, which is sitting in front of me. I stopped at Sheetz and picked up a thing of burger wraps, some chicken tenders, and a pretzel, and I've yet to eat them. And my chicken tender is now cold. and my smoothie is now melted. Oh, a man about town. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. There's wealthy socialites would be a term, a possible term. Think about this: a fat man has food sitting in front of him for this long. He ignored it. And that's what I mean. I love this book so much that I'm just like so invested in wanting to read it that like I have completely ignored my burger wraps and my chicken tenders up until this point. And I even have sweet and sour sauce. Like, you know, it's good. The expert stat block represents a person who has mastered a particular skill or tool. When you create an expert, decide what skill best represents their expertise. The expert's skill mastery applies that skill, and their skill relevant ability score is the one they use for it most often. Some cases you may decide that more than one skill is necessary to represent a particular character. For example, a local herbalist might be skilled in both medicine and nature, and a legal advocate often alternates between persuasion and deception. If more than one skill best represents the expert you're portraying, allow their skill mastery to apply to each of those, and make the ability score for each of those the expert's... Okay, cool. Creature stat blocks do not typically include tool proficiencies. You can assume the expert is proficient in any tools relevant to their craft. It makes total sense. I mean, it's a very simple stat block if you just need something quick. Realistically, you're not gonna be throwing this character into combat in most cases. This is gonna be like if you're taking, say, an academic out into the battlefield because nobody in your party knows comprehend languages, detect. Maybe you have a party of like a lot of brutes. Like, you know, you got a thief rogue, a barbarian, a fighter, and a monk, and nobody has like utility spells. So you hire an academic because you're going through in this dungeon. You suddenly come to a wall that has runes that you've never seen and nobody knows what the hell these are. So you go and you hire an academic at a local college, and okay, cool. You know, he's not combat oriented, but he's a master at what he does. He knows multiple languages. He has, mastery in Arcana. And so you take him along, and I think that's great. And they die tripping. Yeah, that's it. They only got 4 hit points. These are commoner stat blocks. To be fair, some goblin accidentally trips and, throws their dagger. This guy's done for. All right. So looking at the rest of this, what do we got? We got modifying NPCs. A creature's challenge rating is based almost entirely on how much damage it deals and how hard it is to defeat. Yeah. Generally, if you are not changing one of those qualities, you can modify many parts of the creature stat block without changing its CR. Some examples are its species or creature type. Exactly like I said before. If you want to give an NPC the Fey ancestry and dark vision traits to represent it as an elf, fine. It's also possible to represent creatures who are not humanoid but have similar characteristics, such as satyrs. With more creative license, you might make dramatic changes, such as using an alchemist stat block as an unusual ooze that flings gobs of chemicals as see, it's an example like this that kind of like unlocks that potential where, yeah, you could make these, goblins, you can make them elves, you could make them elementals. All right, buddy. Thanks for coming by, Jay. Have a good evening. Or like it says, even make it a monster, make an alchemist an ooze, make a fucking bugbear a berserker, you know? I mean, make an owlbear a brute. I don't even know what a brute looks like. I haven't even fully looked at it. I kind of want to look at it now. Add some extra saving throws. Give it some weapon proficiencies. Change its damage types. Give it magic weapons. Again, I mentioned before, you can always give monsters different spells. You can also give it raising or lowering the CR by 1. In a specific encounter, you may want to include an NPC whose CR is not included in the book, like a CR 6 knight. Typically, the difference of increasing or reducing a CR is minimal enough that you can simply use an NPC of the CR on either side of the target. Yeah, that is just the case. If it is important to use a specific CR, you can just kind of average it out. Yeah, that makes sense. And then you can also add some legendary resistances, actions, or damages. And what do we got here? Common questions. Isn't CR 20 too high for something like a guard or a soldier? That's a reasonable question. Some archetypes are more commonly seen in particular CRs than others. Mages might be portrayed as anything from bumbling acolytes to world-shattering wizards, while guards are usually low-level obstacles for players to overcome. However, just because an archetype is often portrayed at a particular challenge rating doesn't mean there aren't exceptions. For example, a CR 17 guard might represent the protector of the vaults of Olympus. Badass. The intention is not for all NPCs to level up alongside the players. Just because the PCs are level 10 does not mean all the thieves, lockkeepers, and bodyguards in this city should also be CR 10. In fact, that approach can rob your players of their feeling of advancement. That is very true. That is one of the reasons why there's oftentimes when players are leveling up, there is often encounters that use low level stat blocks as fodder because it makes players feel powerful. When a 5th level wizard finally gets fireball and they can wipe out that group of goblins that would have given them trouble just a couple levels ago in one blast, it makes them feel fucking great. When a barbarian's able to swing 2 times at 5th level or 3 times, later on, and they're able to just slice and dice an enemy in half that would have been a challenge a few levels ago, that's great. This, that approach has always been there, and that's why you do want to mix in low level stat blocks with high levels. And the way that you manage that is you put a handful of lower CR creatures that can be fodder, can kind of be minions, and then have one higher level monster that they can contend with that controls them or has some kind of ability. That makes them more powerful. And you could even use like minion role sets when you do that. For example, I want to look at the brute for a moment. If we look at the brute, you could have, say, 9 of these, CR quarter brutes on the battlefield. Have 3 of them as a single, say, large token, or have 8 of them on the battlefield and have 4 of them represented as one large token. All you do is you increase the hit points by, you quadruple the hit points. There's 4 of them. So it has 60 hit points. It can still, they're moving as a group, and you're not having to do 8 different rolls every turn, but you make the attack. You're not doing 4 separate attacks. You're attacking once, and if you hit, maybe you roll like a D4 to see how many times it hits. That's a simple way to do it. If you roll to hit, how many times actually hit, or maybe you just, do roll the 4 attacks to see how much damage it does. Again, there's different ways to do it, but you could throw in a group of brutes and have that, thanks for the follow, Ioni. Hey, that's a name I know. Ayani was the name of Zash's sister in the P5 campaign. I haven't thought about that NPC in a while. Well, thank you for the follow, Ayani. Ian. Jesus. I read that wrong. I read Ion. I thought it was Ayani's my name. And then I realized as I was looking at it, it's Ian. Welcome, Ian. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. But yeah, so like I was saying, you could have a handful of these lower CR brutes and throw in one higher level one. You know, that's an easy way to kind of balance it out. Hey, I haven't thought of Ayani in a long time. I'll call you Ian. I'm good with that. Yeah, no, this is I gotta say, so yeah, just as a reminder for those who have joined late, if you want to check out, my kind of glance into this book, the VOD will be here on Twitch for a while, and eventually we'll make it over to my YouTube channel, which you can find a link for that below, or go to kelfscorner.com to get to all my other stuffs. Looks like fun cards. What are they? So, Ian, what we're looking at right now, here's the link to it if you are ever so curious, want to pick up a copy. But this is a book called Essential NPCs, and what it is a list of about 25 different stat blocks that are based on different CRs. So there's a bunch of different archetypes like assassins, brutes, knights, mages, priests of darkness, priests of light, spell swords, and they increase based on CR challenge rating. So, in D&D, you generally, so in D&D, normally the challenge rating represents a reasonable challenge for a group of 4 players at whatever the CR is. So a group of 4 level 5 player characters. I just started. Oh, cool. Well, welcome. Thanks for coming by. And thanks. Welcome to the community at large. There's a lot here to do. So the way that CR works is it was really introduced in 5th edition, I think, for the most. I could be completely batshit wrong. I want to say it was introduced in 5th edition, and it's not a perfect system, but by any means. What's up, Poke9er? Welcome. Action economy plays a huge role in how strong an enemy can be. So, for example, action economy is simply how many times can one side of the combat do damage to the other side of combat. So if you have 4 player characters and 1 NPC enemy, that means that you have 4 creatures attacking 1. So that 1 creature is going to be taking 4 things of damage, 4 different effects, and they're only going to be able to do 1 thing back to that group. So they might only be able to attack the barbarian, or they might only be able to attack the wizard or the rogue or the cleric, whereas all of these 4 are going to be able to go after this 1. So that's action economy. There's so many actions that players can do, and only so many actions that monsters and enemies can do, and whichever side has the more actions available is oftentimes the one with a slight advantage. But as you start to raise the challenge rating of a monster, for example, if we look at this CR5 Blackguard, they have different abilities that make it so that they have a slightly higher action economy. They can make 2 attacks per turn, which means more actions. They also have an aura effect where a hostile creature within 10 feet that makes an attack or saving throw must subtract a d4 from that. So you're impeding the one side's group to do stuff, and you're getting more to do. So the general rule of thumb that I have always kind of gone by is, since D&D is historically designed to be played with 4 players, that is going to be a fighter, a mage, a cleric, and a rogue. Or, in general, a melee tank, a utility a utility caster, a support caster, and an expert. Okay, and the expert could be a rogue who's really good at like stealth, subterfuge, dexterity-based stuff, but it could also be a ranger who's good at environmental exploration, or it could also be a bard who's good at support and charisma-based abilities. Your tank could be a fighter, a barbarian, a paladin. The utility caster could be a wizard, a druid, a sorcerer. Anybody who has access to spells that allow them to slow enemies, make your allies faster, to charm enemies and take them out of combat. Control abilities. And then you have the support caster, like a cleric, honestly, even a druid and whatnot, that they are there to buff and aid their allies. Don't interrupt you since I'm learning a lot. Do you have any podcast recommendations? I'm just down to try anything at this point. I've been using Instagram Reels for finding them. Flip Off Fate. So, out of curiosity, Ian, are you looking for a podcast that informs you about the D&D community and news? Are you looking for a podcast that is like a live play where you can listen to people playing the game and something like that? Live plays. Okay. So there's plenty of great options out there. How can I best, I'm just going to put it right here in the chat. Okay. So we have, the Adventure Zone, which is it's a phenomenal podcast that is put out by, or that was put out by the McElroy brothers. They're a comedic group of 3 brothers and their father, Clint, who it was a phenomenal campaign. There's hundreds. I want to say there's literally, there were 70 episodes in the main, in the first campaign, the balance arc. Some of the other ones that are super popular, I highly recommend Not Another D&D Podcast. That is a podcast, that was a D&D podcast that was hosted by the folks from College Humor and Dropout. So you had the Dungeon Master was Brian Murphy, then you had Emily Axford, Caldwell, and Jake. That was a phenomenal podcast. With really great characters. They're all improv actors. They are super good at coming up with stuff on the spot. Like an hour. So the thing is that it really depends on the kind of live play that you watch. When it's podcast form, in a lot of cases, the episodes are only going to be like an hour to an hour and a half, because especially if they're editing them down, there's some more condensed ones. Dungeons and Daddies, I've never listened to it personally, but I have heard really good things about it. Again, I don't listen to a lot of live plays anymore, but that is an option. And then let's jump to YouTube real quick, because there's a shit ton on. What am I doing? I should look at my where's the one? Oh no, that's just the Dungeons and Dragons one. What's the one that I'm thinking of? They have so many shorts that I watch. Should I follow them? Resource spin. So here's what I would highly recommend that you do. Where is my thing here? Overcast. Oh shit, can I see it on here? No, I guess not. What is it? I can't remember the one that I'm actually thinking of. I can think of oh, here we go. Here's a fucking hell. I completely forgot about these. Yeah. So aside from the ones that I already mentioned, not another D&D podcast, the Adventure Zone, and Dungeons and Daddies, there's also Dimension 20, which is literally the Dropout crew ran by Brendan Lee Mulligan, who is a monumental GM. He's one of the best. A lot of those are fairly short form as well. Here we go. I'm not going to keep this link to myself. I will post it here so you can see this. There we go. Yeah, Critical Role, The Adventure Zone, Oxventure. I've heard of that one. NADPod, Go Dungeons Daddies, Role Seekers. So definitely check these out. There's a ton. And self-promo for what it's worth. Here at Kel's Corner, you can actually check out our 2 live streams that we do, generally speaking, every Sunday from about 5:30, 6 o'clock to about 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. I mean, I know it's a little bit longer than what you're looking for, but we do 2 different shows around here. We have the Fandolin 5, which is a group of I know there's more than 5 people on the screen, but it's a group of ragtag adventurers trying to stop the cult of Tiamat from taking over the world. And then we have the New Age Into the Veil campaign, where another ragtag group of adventurers is now going to have to stop a very powerful goblin mage that has taken the that has risen a castle into the sky and is now using it to impose his will across the lands. I have some new art for that, in fact. There we go. This is what the people of the town of the towns of the Elseer Vale will see over the giant shield mountains as Castle Rivenroar has floated into the sky with profane arcane magic. Can't wait to see how that campaign rolls out. So yeah, definitely check that out. And also thank you for the, I will say, I will admit, this one, I actually downloaded these assets, did a little bit of editing with them, but I absolutely love this. And this one was downloaded the background, but for the most part is just tokens that I've created over time with different assets. So thanks. Yeah, like I said, man, there's plenty of podcasts out there. Beyond that, though, there is also if you're just getting into the D&D community and you kind of want to stay up to date on things, I highly recommend checking out the Eldritch Lorecast as well as the Mastering Dungeons podcast. You can also find those on YouTube as well. So the Eldritch Lorecast is actually put out by a group from Ghostfire Gaming. It's kind of one of the most prevalent D&D podcasts around. And then where was it? I thought it was sooner in there. There is also Mastering Dungeons, which is another podcast style show that has Sean Merwin and Teos Abadia, two prolific creators in the D&D community space. Beyond that, there's a ton of people that you can find online, especially on YouTube, if you're really just getting into the community and wanting to, you know, really jump in with both feet. A couple that I can highly recommend for not only information but also entertainment. There is the D&D YouTube community is massive. For example, we have the GM Philosopher, who I'm one of the members over in his Discord. He's a very awesome guy, and he puts out videos almost daily, and he's been really building his channel recently. We have Sly Flourish, who is the author of The Lazy Dungeon Master. He has a weekly show where he talks about news and different books, kind of in a way similar to what I do here, just in a recorded format, but he does do live streams as well. Bob World Builder, he does a lot of informative videos about D&D as well as other tabletop RPGs and news as well. He has bunch of cool videos about, like, could you survive on D&D rations? Is D&D movement speed realistic? Can you drink a potion as a bonus action? Ted from Nerd Immersion is also a great channel to check out. He has a lot of live reactions. He does a very similar style that I do, you know, kind of reviewing stuff, looking at the new stuff that's in the community and discussing news. We also have another more entertainment-based channel, Jacob from XP to Level 3. He is hilarious, and if you ever want to get more of the comedy side of things, but also super informative and want to watch his live plays, he does have those as well. And then we got Professor Dungeon Master with Dungeon Craft. He's more of an old school runner. And Nerdarchy, again, a slightly older group, but they still do weekly videos. And they talk about, like, combos and character builds and stuff like that. So yeah, now there's a ton. The D&D YouTube community is massive. There's so many great channels out there. You are absolutely in the right spot to check. Oh yeah, Ginny D. I don't know if I follow Ginny D. But yeah, Ginny D is also a pretty popular D&D YouTuber. She has a lot of stuff that is more, what I would say is more esoteric. Talks about, you know, more, she has a lot more aesthetic stuff, things that are fairly informative. She has a very particular style in my opinion, but yeah, check out some of those channels. And if you have any questions, or if you have any, you know, you want to learn more, feel free, go to kelfscorner.com, that link that's above me. There's a link in there to my Discord. You're welcome to come by and hang out, ask questions. There's a bunch of different people in there that play different games and systems. There's Pathfinder players, there's D&D players, there's DMs, and there's also players as well. Pretty easygoing community, and yeah. But I mean, just welcome to D&D, man. It's a great community. It's a great hobby. Glad you're getting into it at any point. Just been trying to find, like, a loosely D&D pods slowly get into D&D without everything getting shoved. No, that's reasonable. That is, you know what? Here's my thing. My introduction to D&D was the Adventure Zone. And that was because I was already following the McElroy brothers well before they became, big D&D stars. I mean, they truly have they truly have become. I didn't even realize they were on a new season. That's kind of crazy. They truly have become, like huge in the D&D community. But here we go. There's the main three. But this was the group that I started with live plays, and the way that they do it is not really formatted in a D&D way. The way that the podcast rolls out is more of just like a lot of the storytelling. There is clearly rolling going on, and they talk about their character sheets here and there, but it is definitely more of like a story based podcast that is playing out the way that they edit it. Not Another D&D podcast is kind of the same way, where they are telling it in a way where a lot of the D&D is kind of moved aside to allow room for the story to be told. And when you talk about live plays, that's kind of where the difference really is. A D&D podcast like NADPod and the Adventure Zone, those are more edited down to be a lot of the story, versus if you decide to sit down and watch like our Phandalin 5 campaign or the New Age campaign that I have streamed here on these channels on Sundays. It's everything. I don't edit anything. We're not editing live. You see all the dice rolls if we're checking notes and, looking in books, or I have to look up some roll that I have to adjudicate. That's everything. And that's why sessions take, 3, 4, 5 hours, and why the story itself could be boiled down to, an hour and a half if you have it in a podcast format, and if you have editors like these groups do. So yeah, I mean, if you want more of that style, definitely check out, the Adventure Zone, check out NADPod. If you want more of like seeing D&D in play, then you're going to be looking for stuff like Critical Role, Dimension 20. I can't think of the one. Legends of Evantris. That's the one that I couldn't think of. Jeez, oh man. Yes. If Legends of Evantris is one of the best for their clips. I love their stuff. Here we go.
Bitsy.
Yeah?
You told us that your town was going to kick you out forever, and you don't even seem upset about that.
They keep asking me to leave, and I didn't leave, and then they were gonna tell me to kick out, and then I was gonna be kicked out, and I was like, I don't want that to happen. Why?
Why were they going to kick you out?
Because they don't understand the difference between lemons and lemon juice.
Lemon juice?
What?
It's a long story. You wouldn't understand.
I'm really trying here.
If they had to kick you out because they didn't understand the difference between lemons and lemon juice, we might have to kick you out if we don't understand the difference between lemons.
One's lemon and
Well, the
one's the
lemon, and then the other's like a
liquidy juice
They
type
kept saying
thing.
that one came from the other, and that's horseshit.
Clearly, the juice comes from the lemon. But
That's what
once
they
you
keep
squeeze the juice out
saying.
of the lemon, it
This is
stops
what they
being a
kept
lemon.
saying. That doesn't make any sense. I don't have any lemons on me, but if you squeeze that lemon and lemon juice came out, I wouldn't.
All right, when we get to Click
The
Clock,
Click Clock, I'm gonna blow your mind.
Bitsy.
I fucking love them. Yeah. I couldn't think of it. Legends of Evantris. They are such a wonderful group. Yeah, man. Like I said, welcome to the community. So glad that you are here, and I'm happy that you stumbled across my channel as you are making your way through the door. So welcome. Just funny clips like that. I'm curious. Yeah, you were talking about Flip of Fate, and I'm curious. I'm curious to hear that. I don't know if I've ever mind helping me. Oh yeah, absolutely, Poke9er. I want to check out Flip of Fate real quick to see what they got. Oh, they got a couple shorts. We'll click one. I don't know. We guess shorts. Popular.
You might want to get some of your gears fixed up.
That's character.
I'll fix up your gears anytime, preacher.
I know.
I was about to say, I'm gonna rearrange your gears.
Is this just a Henry thing, or in character is Ian just?
No, that was just the
Is
Henry
Henry
thing.
gay for preacher?
Henry thing.
Henry's gay
Well, I
for
know I
preacher.
have been on my own, bro.
18? Okay, yeah, you flawlessly sneak a dagger into your whatever you want to sneak it into.
All right. And then I like to imagine that he's like, you hear like bagpipes
Yeah.
sliding against the wall, doing somersaults up and down.
Exactly.
There's a bagpipe rendition.
Okay.
I like fall and you hear.
Oh boy.
Hey, Dad.
I'm not your dad.
Dad.
Can I still call you Dad, though?
Sure, whatever. Go ahead. I don't really care that much.
Okay. Hey.
Oh. I feel like I could get into this one. There we go. Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check out more of this. Oh, they have a Discord channel as well. Nice. All right, yeah, I'll subscribe to them. I'll check out their stuff. Looks like they got a handful of episodes, so not too far behind. Poke9er startup. Ooh, giant subclasses. All right, well we're gonna shift gears here. We're gonna shift gears here for a second. Oh, you binge? Yeah, dude. I remember I used to drive I used to have like a 45-minute drive to work, and that's whenever I listened to a ton of podcasts. There are giant subclasses, yes. It depends on what class you're talking about, but there is, for the barbarian, the Path of the Giant, where you get like the ability to throw weapons and it comes back to you, and you can increase in size. There's also the Rune Knight Fighter subclass, which is kind of giant based, where you get to like carve runes into stuff, and they're based on giants and then also grow large. Our Rime of the Frost Maiden campaign, in fact, my buddy Aaron played a Rune Knight Fighter in there. Why do I still have this art up? I love it. All right, so we're going Warlock. We're going Warlock, because we're getting an otherworldly patron. You forged a pact with a powerful giant. No matter which rank of giant you form this pact with, your patron is a beacon of their kind. Although giants normally have no need to incorporate themselves into the lives of smaller creatures, there are times when mortals reach to the heights of giants, hoping to gain their aid in a common goal. Runegrave Warlocks are known for bearing unique rune marks along their bodies, signifying their status to their patron. Either as a servant or a compatriot, all giant can recognize which race of giant a warlock serves through your markings, with the warlock acting appropriately according to their patron's ordning rank. Cool. So it looks like we got a first level ability. First level, your patron has engraved runes onto your body in order to aid you in your journey. These runes can... Well, that's weird how that reformats the font. These runes can take on the forms of tattoos, physical embeddings, and other items on parts of the body such as head, torso, or appendage. Oh, geez, thank you. Thank you, Ian. I really appreciate that. Ha! Got the exclamation. I don't know where to point. There we go. There we go. Thank you so much, Ian. I really appreciate the sub. It's very kind of you. Where was we? You can work with your DM to determine how these... Yeah, sure, that's reasonable. You have a number of runes engraved into your body equal to your con mod. So, Warlock. Warlock's not going to have a crazy con mod. You're going to have a high charisma. And depending on what kind of build... Is this going to be more of like a caster or more of like a physical warlock? Like, is it like a, you know, a hexblade where you want some like physicality? Or is it going to be like more of a caster? How many runes your body can take? Because, I mean, con, yeah, I mean, it makes sense to tie it to con. That's reasonable. The only other thing I would even consider tying it to is charisma. But that's, you know, obviously going to buff it up. But you could take an early lead with Constitution as well. So you could start out with 3, probably at most. A rune's power is malleable, but it never changes. Its shape or form. At the end of a long rest, you can assign which rune does... what each rune does from the following list, and the empowered rune lasts until the next long rest or until you die. Cloud rune, when you wear this, you can use your bonus action to deal thunder damage to a creature within reach. While you wear this rune, you can use a bonus action to deal thunder damage to a creature within reach. The damage equals double the number of storm runes you are bearing. Okay. You mean cloud runes? Because I don't see storm runes. And I feel like cloud and storm... I mean, there's a difference between cloud giants and storm giants. So did you mean cloud giant there, or cloud rune there? I feel like that's just a typo. Okay, cool. All right, cool. So... it's cloud rune. Awesome. Okay, so fire rune. I thought it was going to be like a thing where you had to balance them, where it's like, oh, you want to take cloud rune? You need some storm runes. Okay, cool. Fire damage, or fire rune. You can use a reaction to deal fire damage to a creature that hits you with a melee attack. Cool. Double the number of fire runes you're bearing. Frost rune. You can grant any creature you can see with an amount of temporary hit points. The amount equals double. Okay, so it's that. And stone rune, your hit point maximum increases for 1 for each level you have in this class. You can benefit from more than... Jesus. So at the end of a long rest, you can assign what each rune does from the following list. Okay. So you are essentially saying that, like, okay, let's just say I have a 16 to my constitution. Let's say I min-max my character and I'm popping, you know, 15 charisma, I'm popping, you know, 14 in constitution and a 15 in dexterity, and I'm getting my +1 and +2 in con and charisma. So I have 16 in those, giving me +3. So I now have, this pen's out of ink. I was going to do a demonstration, but I got 3 runes on my body. So at the end of a long rest, I can say, okay, this rune is a cloud rune, this rune is a fire rune, and this rune's a frost rune, right? Like, that's kind of what you're saying. But I could also say all 3 of these today are going to be fire runes. And I'm going to be super aggro, and I'm going to make every enemy attack me. And every time somebody attacks me, they're taking 6 fire damage. That's interesting. That is really interesting. Does Storm... so what are you doing for Storm Rune? Because I'm thinking it grants you 10 feet of flying speed for every rune you have. Just saying. Storm Rune, give you a flying speed, 10 feet. I think this is cool. I think this is really cool. I don't know if I peaked too early. I mean, it's a really cool design. I'm gonna give you that. It's an interesting way to manage it. I'm not sure if I want to give them more runes or make the runes stronger, or just have them get more runes as you go along. No, that's reasonable. I mean, I think since the way that you're going about it is that, like, Cloud, Fire, and Frost is that the damage you're dealing is doubled. You could say, you know, because what, the next time that a Warlock gains a subclass feature is 6? Yeah, 6, 10, 14. So you could say, okay, at 6 level, these are now tripled. And the Stone Rune does 2 XP, or, you know, 2 HP for each level you have. I mean, that's basically the same as the Tough feat. You know, and again, the Storm Rune, if you're going, you know, like I was saying, the movement, it could be 15 feet. Or, like, you could add lightning damage to something. Being that this is a Warlock, you could also... you're gonna be doing spell casting, so there needs to be something that affects your Eldritch Blast. Okay, in my opinion, you need to have something that works with Eldritch Blast, considering that's the Warlock's, like, core spell. Do you think an auto damage bonus action is too good? I do think this is gonna be much more of a... It definitely feels like it's gonna be more of a melee caster. I would say, I mean, I know you're talking about the Cloud Rune. It's only, like, even if your Constitution is a 20, and as a Warlock, your Constitution's not going to be a 20 for until far long in the career of this character. That means that the most you could ever do with this is 10. So as a bonus action, you are automatically dealing 10 damage to a creature. Even if it's a creature that has vulnerability to thunder, like a crystal golem or a glass golem, that's only dealing 20 damage. And again, that's it, you having a 20 in Constitution. Sure, maybe if you are rolling for stats, you could have that at a low level. But again, your charisma is going to be where you're wanting to put your highest stat, because I mean that's your spellcasting focus. So I don't think it's too overpowered to do that. Now, what I would say is, and it is going to make it obviously, you know, if you're thinking about formatting and text length, that is an issue. You could have it say something along the lines of, while you wear this rune, you can use your bonus action to hit a creature with a blast of thunder within 5 feet of you. The target makes a Constitution saving throw against your spell save DC, and on a failed save, they take, you know, damage equal to double the number of cloud runes you have, and are knocked prone. On a success, they are not knocked prone. So you could add a little something to it. Again, you'd have to work on the phrasing and the formatting just to make sure it's clean. But you could add that it knocks them prone and introduce a saving throw along with it. Because then this way the damage, even though it is like automatic damage, it's kind of hidden behind it's kind of like secretly there. It's not, but it is, you know. I mean, as you go along, you could have like other things that play into it. Again, you could introduce different runes, but you'd have to really like figure out if you wanted to introduce more runes of like different types, because there aren't really other like giant clans. I mean, there's plenty of other giants out there, but like the core 5 is, you know, hill giants, frost giants, fire giants, cloud giants, and storm. Right? That is what it is, right? I'm not speaking out my ass here. Cloud, fire, frost. Yeah. Hill giant, frost giant, fire giant, cloud giant, stone, and wait, what the fuck? Oh yeah, because it's hill and then mountain. I always forget about stone giants. Oops. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, cloud, fire, frost, hill, stone, and storm. Why did I literally just wrote a custom homebrew item based on giants, and even like started thinking about like an extending adventure that could go with it. And I was like, you could have them go after the 5, you know, giant clan types. And I completely forgot about stone runes. God damn. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you could definitely like kind of play off of these. The only thing is that, you know, it's with this one, it's that they're getting additional ones as they go up. So, you could make like, you could maybe move cloud out of here and put something like for the hill rune. And then introduce cloud later and introduce storm later, make them more powerful as you go along. You know, have 3 to start with. So you could have 3 to start with, and then at 6, 10, and 14, you get, you know, you get the other 3 as you go along. You know, you get 1 introduced at each level, or you could do, you know, you could do the 4 at first level and then introduce 2 more as you go along, 1 at 6 and 1 at 10, and then at 14th have something, you know, that like stacks on top of that. God, my ear hurts. Sorry. You could also just make them, don't make them super overpowered at first level, but then as you level up, they increase in what they do, or they add new things. So again, Cloud is giving you that bonus action thunder damage, and Fire is that it's, you know, it's basically Hellish Rebuke. Frost Rune is granting a creature temporary hit points, but you could also at 6th level, you could say that the Fire Rune gives you resistance to fire damage. Cloud Rune gives you resistance to thunder. Frost gives you resistance to cold. Storm gives you resistance to lightning, and Stone gives you resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage from non-magical, mundane damage. This way, there's a benefit that kind of rolls with each one of them. And at every one of those levels at 1, 6, 10, and 14, there's a compounding benefit for each one. And sure, you are, if you do it that way, you're kind of exponentially increasing what the player has access to. But arguably, again, unless they, like, what is it? It's the Periapt of Health. Yeah, no, not the Periapt of Health. Amulet of Health. That's what I'm thinking of. So unless your players snag the Amulet of Health early on, giving them a 19 to Constitution, which is going to be a plus. Jesus Christ, 5e.tools is just so slow anymore. Giving them a 19 to Constitution, but the thing about that is that can never change. So that player's always just going to have 4. So reasonably with that, the most that they're going to be doing, you know, at early levels is 8. But the Amulet of Health, God, this website just needs to work nowadays. Oh, I accidentally closed yours. Here we go. So, you know, so it's, what's the really? It's a rare item. So arguably an Amulet of Health, unless you're a crazy ass DM, unless you're, I'm not, Chaos, sorry. Pokey9er here in the chat is working on a new giant subclass, a warlock subclass that is based on taking a giant as a patron. So, but we're just kind of discussing some of the runes that they have. It's kind of similar to the Rune Knight fighter in a way. But yeah, again, unless you're a crazy DM who's given, you know, early level characters Amulets of Health, rare items aren't gonna really start showing up till players are about level 7, 8 or so. In most cases, maybe as early as 5, but realistically, like 7, 8, 9 is when they're gonna start showing up. So up until that point, most warlocks aren't going to have a very high constitution modifier. So they're only ever going to be able to have like 3 of these, probably for the longest time. They could have more, they could have less. But I would argue that they would probably have 3 to 4 for most of their career. So they're never going to be able to have all of them. This is, I don't know. 5e, okay. I didn't even ask about that. But, I mean, it's not a bad, it's not a bad start. I think you need to add in, something for the storm giants, something for the hill giants. And the way that I would do it is I would compound abilities as you go along. Like at 6th level, when you have the cloud rune, like I said, you also gain resistance to thunder damage because you're still getting that original one. And truthfully, you could even change this from the damage equals double the number of cloud runes that you have to being the damage equals the number of cloud runes you're bearing times your proficiency modifier. Because then that dynamically increases with the player as they level up. Then you don't have to worry about it being a class feature of it getting stronger as an ability. Then you're saying, okay, when you're level... I can never remember this. Yeah, so when you're level 10, it's, the damage is 4 times that amount. So when you use the cloud rune and you're focused on the cloud rune, you have let's say you have a 4 to your constitution, so you're dealing 16 damage. I get that. I totally do. I mean, introducing a bunch of random introducing variables is always going to be a concern. That's very kind of you to think about the players, but at the end of the day, D&D is a math game. Mostly addition, but it is math. My chicken strips are so cold. We deal with enough math, yeah. No, ain't that just the barest truth of all? All right, yeah. Keep me updated on your rune grave. I feel like you just have to stay within damage values and avoid Yeah. Trust me. I was thinking about multi-classing with this. If you multi-class this with like a barbarian who you're going to be rolling high in constitution, that would be pretty nuts. Something like a barbarian or a paladin who doesn't use their bonus action for a lot of things, just being able to once per turn dish out, just a solid set of damage. Or the fire rune. I mean, even as a warlock, you're not, okay, cool, I don't have to burn a spell slot to use Hellish Rebuke, because if I focus everything into fire runes and I have a 3 in my constitution, there's my Hellish Rebuke. So, and I don't need to burn a spell slot. I'm gonna be straight up, I'm not a huge fan of Frost being the healing one. I might say Hill could be healing. I feel like Frost, with the idea of Frost, should slow enemies down. I think that I think Frost needs to be that, yeah, it was originally a slow effect. Well, that makes sense. We had a similar mindset on that. I feel like that should be a slow effect. 5 feet for each rune, perfect. Stone is good. I think the way that it is, Storm could possibly be introduced later and give you a fly speed. I think it was scary to just lock down a creature in some. I get that. I totally get that. Where is it? Where's my folder? That was the whole design behind the Frostwalker. Oh, there's a PDF link. Crazy. And that was the whole design behind this subclass. Once per turn, when you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you can deal extra cold damage and reduce its speed by a number of feet equal to 5 times your proficiency bonus until the start of your next turn. So at first level, you're reducing their speed by 10. If this reduces their speed to 0, it must spend 3 feet of movement for every 1 foot to move during its next turn. When you reach 11th level, the extra damage increases. I think here... oh no, that's right. This was that you can't be slowed. Here we go. Yeah, Glacial Guardian. For the next minute, yeah, so you basically form ice around you. Any creature that hits you with a melee attack, its speed is reduced by 15 feet. And when you... Here it is, absolute 0. As a reaction, when your Frostbite Strike reduces a creature's speed to 0... you can create an area of intense cold around them until the start of your next turn. Creatures of your choice that start their turn within 15 feet of the affected target have their speed reduced by half as the air seems to freeze around them. I mean, that was like literally the whole design of my Frostwalker. Was just, yeah, hold person, slow, hold monster. Armor of Agathis deals cold damage. Ice Storm is difficult terrain. This is all about control. I think it's a good idea. I think you have a solid like concept in mind, and I'm very interested to see more of it. So definitely keep me updated on that. But I do just really quickly want to go over one more thing before I head out for the night, because I got to eat my dinner and get to bed. But I talked about, I threw it up there in the Discord earlier today in the D&D&Chill when I announced this stream, but there is currently a bundle of holding going on. If you're not familiar, oh yeah, no, I got burger wraps, I got chicken tenders, I got a pretzel. It's all been sitting here in front of me, and wait, where's the button? I used to have a button that I could do this with, and now I don't have the. This is what's been in front of me the whole time. I'm just I don't want to eat on stream that much. Obviously can't talk with a mouthful of food. But I talked about it in what I shared out earlier. I don't talk about it that often. I really should. If you guys know this channel, you know the first 15. It's a video game show I do on Thursdays. I talk a lot about the Humble Bundle, and there's a bunch of games you can get over there. They have the Humble Choice where you can get, 8 different games a month for, one price. They do have a bunch of books that are available on their page in bundles. And sometimes, if you're lucky, you get some really cool D&D ones, 5e adventures, crafting monsters, and VTT assets. If you want to get the most of what is in there for the lowest price, this is a little tip. When you go to Humble Bundle, and if you're curious about this particular one, here's the link. You always go back one level of the price. That'll get you everything at the lowest price. Beyond that, you get less and less. But this one right now has a bunch of different books, and I'm actually not going to buy this because I have a lot of these already. But you got like the Deck of Dirty Tricks, which is different ways of kind of introducing stuff to the game that can cause unexpected things to happen in your game. Endless Encounters Dungeons. This is a book filled with a bunch of random tables that you can kind of use on the fly as you're playing to change up how the game or how a dungeon is set up. So different books in general, like different bestiaries, NPCs. I actually don't know what this one is. Dynamic tool for fantasy role playing. Exploration, roleplay, and combat encounter cues, each for a different environment. Oh, that's interesting. Shit. I might need to get that. That sounds... I don't have that one. But the big thing that this particular one has, that I was kind of more curious about, is all of these VTT tokens. There's a lot here, and I kind of want a lot of these tokens. I have a bunch of stuff from Frog God Games, and I don't have these. And then there's a bunch of maps too. I'm always looking for maps, and tokens are fine and are great when you need them. So I have not bought this, but what I did buy recently is this, which is the bundle of holding, which I posted the link to a moment ago. There's kind of like the way that Humble does it, where there's different bundles that you can get depending on the price you're paying. The bundle of holding does do the lower level seems to just be, it is just the 24 is just the tokens and the maps, and the $5 one is just the maps. If you want the PDFs, you have to pay at least $25. But if you are new to D&D and you are a burgeoning DM, $25 for 700, I mean, and sure, this might not be, this is a material value, okay? $741 value for $25. If you went out to buy all of these separately, this is what you would pay. Does that mean that this is the value you're going to get out of these? No. I cannot express to you enough the amount of money that I have spent over the years on D&D books that I do not use, okay? I cannot express how much I have spent. In fact, right here is just my D&D like resources books with like folders filled with all kinds of stuff. Okay. I mean, like tons of stuff that is in here. And I have maybe used like 5 to 10% of this stuff. There are some in here that I have never even read. But I get them because then I have that resource available to me when I need it. And that's kind of my argument for it. You know, for example, Jarlaxle's Bag of Everything. If there's something I you know, if I need to find a cool magic item, there we go. Or if I want to get some cool spells, cool, I have a book for that. Oh my god, there's an emblem of Blubloop-de-Doop. If you don't know, or I definitely mispronounced that, but Blip-de-Pulp is the god of the Kuatoa, which are like the... Oh, I didn't mean to put that there. Which is the god of the Kuatoa, which are like fish people. It's very... What the fuck? What page is that on? 95. See, this is what happens to me. This is what I mean. Like, I buy shit and I don't look at it. What does it do? What? Why is it not there? Didn't that say that? Page 95? I didn't need to put... Yeah, so, well... You know what? That's... Yeah, I'm gonna close that out. That's kind of the other thing that I do. I do exactly that as well. Where I buy, you know, a ton. I don't have great lighting over here. Hold on. Here we go. Do this. Yeah, there. I buy a ton of books and then don't read half of them. I mean, arguably, I did read a lot of these, and there's ones that, like, I just... Oh, Jesus Christ, we're just looking at my microphone. There we go. You know, there's definitely a lot that I will, you know, reference as I go by and need them, like the monsters know what they're doing, or, you know, like random encounters, and, you know, if I need some adventures and stuff, like, I have options, but in a lot of cases, I'm not using like 90% of what I've paid for, but I have it if I need it, if I have it for reference. And that's kind of the way that I kind of looked at this particular one. You know, it's the Bundle of Holding, which I believe is associated with Mike Schley, or because I know Mike Schley talks about it a lot. He normally, you know, advertises it, but this particular one that is out today was specifically for Dungeon Crawl Classics. So for $20, you got 10 introductory modules to Dungeon Crawl Classics, 13 modules from levels 3 to 6, and 4 Dungeon Crawl Play Aids. If you paid for the high level collection, you got this low level collection, as well as Castle White Rock, the Gazetteer, the Known Realms, Saga of the Dragon Cult with 6 different scenarios, as well as a slew of other modules. Now, I'm going to be real with you. I don't deal a lot with Dungeon Crawl Classics. If you're a 5th edition player and you don't know what this is more of like an old school D&D counterpart. It's much closer to 3.5 and original Pathfinder than it is 5th edition. But as long as you know what you are looking at, you can adjust things as you go along. And I'm going to be completely straightforward with you. What made me get this was specifically right here, the Volcano Caves. I have, if you have been watching our Phandalin 5 campaign for like the last handful of years, I have brought up a few times, and it has come up in the campaign during these recent one-shots that we've kind of spent a while with, that Steve's character Seftis is looking to forge a volcanic greatsword. And he needs to go to a forge in a volcano to do this, and I needed a dungeon. Well, lo and behold, this was in here. Now, I looked it up. I could buy this for $7.99, okay? So for $8, I could have bought this module by itself, but my mind goes, well, look at everything that I'm getting if I just buy the bundle at the highest level. And at the time, it was only like, yeah, here we go, $42. So all you have to do, it's just $42, okay? And you get all these different books, all these different modules and adventures. And where'd my folder go? There it is. So that's what I ended up doing. I ended up buying those, and they're right here. We got the high level one, and now I have the Volcano Caves, which is the one that I was looking for. Now, this is set up very much like old school, you know, D&D books. Classic black and white maps. Just like the formatting and the style of this is very, very old school D&D. But I'm really kind of curious to dig into it and to hopefully get to use this as sort of the base for my volcano, quest line that the players are going to be going to and get into a forge. So I haven't looked through this. That's probably going to be what I'm going to be doing, like Friday. Yeah, Friday. And I'm interested to see, how I can manage this. But yeah, if you are interested in some dungeon crawl classics, if old school D&D is something that interests you and you want to get your hands on some adventures, definitely check out the Bundle of Holding. It only got a half an hour, so you gotta watch this now. And we're watching this. It is 1:30 a.m. on January 16th. So at 2 a.m., this is going away. There's always going to be more, though, so keep that in mind. They have a bunch of stuff that you can just buy directly from them, but right now, this is what we're looking at. So, oh, look at that. Got even more. Sick. Cool. All right, well, it's not enough time to... Sure it is. It is totally enough time to decide. Just do it. But that is going to be it for me tonight, folks. Like I said, it's about 1:30 right now, and well, I don't got to be up early. I do want to eat my dinner and get to bed at a reasonable hour so I can spend some time with my daughter in the morning before I go to work. So thanks for joining me tonight for this rousing session of D&D&Chill. I really appreciate everybody coming by. To those of you that were hanging out for the first time, thank you so much for coming by. I really appreciate you all. If you want to hang out with the community, keep an eye on things, follow us, and find out when we go live and whatnot, you can head over to kelscorner.com. There's a link to get to the Discord in there. And yeah, that's about it. So I will see you guys tomorrow, I guess today, but tomorrow night for an episode of the First 15. So we are going to be playing some really fun games. I've been looking forward to these all week. So if you want to come back later tonight, technically, tomorrow evening, 10:30 Eastern Standard Time, Thursday night, we're going to be playing some games and having some fun. And there's going to be even a special fourth game that we're going to announce later. So just have that to sit on. But thank you, everybody, for staying. Have a good night. Enjoy your day. If I don't see you by then. Bye.